connect, serve, and grow is what you can expect at the House of Reconciliation. Leadership, community, education, wellness, and participation is part of our plan for your spiritual growth and success. Family and faith is a core value for the House of Reconciliation, working to help people find their purpose. Want to make an impact in the kingdom? Ready to tap into your future? Meet us at the House Sundays with Pastor Reginald Campbell, www.houseofreconciliation.org.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to Bible study tonight. We're going to be talking about the mental health moment for the month. So this month, the topic is self-esteem and peer pressure, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. So what is self-esteem? Self-esteem is how we value and perceive ourselves. It's based on our opinions and beliefs about ourselves, which can feel hard to change at times. And we might also think of this as self-confidence. So your self-esteem can affect whether you do the following things. So like and value yourself as a person, can make decisions and assert yourself, recognize your strengths, feel able to try new or hard things, show kindness towards yourself, move past mistakes without blaming yourself unfairly, take the time you need for yourself, believe you matter and you are good enough, and then believe you deserve happiness. All right, so the battle of the self-esteem. So we have overly high self-esteem, which is also considered being arrogant, and then, of course, low self-esteem. So with overly high self-esteem, like I said, you're seen as arrogant, self-indulgent. There's a strong sense of entitlement. You're never wrong. Everybody else is wrong. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't have any mistakes. You're perfect. And then you criticize everybody else. Low self-esteem, you value other people's opinion more than your own. Well, what do you think? Well, what do you think? Well, it don't matter what I think, but I want to know what you think type stuff. Focusing on the negative things and not acknowledging your own achievements, and then the sense of worthlessness. Oh, I meant to say, if anybody has any questions throughout the presentation, don't hesitate to ask. So some more signs of low self-esteem continued. So saying negative things and being critical about yourself, joking about yourself in a negative way, like, ha ha, I'm so fat. It's like you're serious, but with the humorous tone, it comes off as a joke. So like I said before, focusing on your negatives and ignoring your achievements, blaming yourself when things go wrong, thinking other people are better than you, thinking you don't deserve to have fun, deserve nice things, not being able to accept a compliment. I feel like we all know someone, when you try to give them a compliment, they just can't accept it. Avoiding challenges for fear of failing or not doing well. Being upset by disapproval or constructive criticism. So if you try to give someone a constructive criticism comment and they take things personally. And then feeling sad, depressed, anxious, ashamed, angry, and then again, that sense of worthlessness. So getting into some causes of low self-esteem, there are quite a few. So ruminating is thinking about something for a prolonged period of time where you can't focus on anything else. That's all you think about. So ruminating or being preoccupied with like bad thoughts, sad thoughts, bad things that happened to you in the past. Engaging in that negative self-talk again. So some examples are saying you're dumb, you're fat, you'll never be good enough, you'll never get into college, you won't get that job, etc. Having a mental health disorder, so depression and anxiety can lead to low self-esteem, especially with like severe depression, because there's this strong sense of like feeling unworthy and like you shouldn't be here, you don't deserve to be here on this earth if your depression is really severe. Having no resilience, so not being able to bounce back from hard situations, and then not having healthy coping skills. Should I hold it a certain way? Okay. So how to build self-esteem in adults. I'm going to get the children in a second. So I do have some handouts if my handy dandy helper can assist me. So become more aware of your negative thoughts and negative thinking patterns. So the yellow sheet has 15 different negative thinking styles that most people fall into. So change those negative thinking patterns, and then using positive self-talk. So the other sheet is a list of 50 positive affirmations that you can tell yourself on a daily basis. And then practice self-compassion, being able to forgive yourself and accept your mistakes. Nobody on this earth is perfect. So, I'll wait till she gets back. So some signs of healthy self-esteem. So the key elements of self-esteem include self-confidence, feelings of security, so feeling secure in who you are. No one can make you question who you are, what you believe in, what you support. Having a strong sense of identity, again, like you know who you are. No one can they can challenge that, but they want to succeed. A strong sense of belonging, feeling like you belong on this earth, you belong at your job, you belong with your family, wherever. And then feelings of competence, so you feel competent in what you do and your abilities. So some things to avoid to have healthy self-esteem. So avoid dwelling on past and negative experiences. We've all done this once upon a time in our lives. We can't go back and change the past. What can you do now? What did you learn from that? And how can you apply that to the future? Believe you are equal to everyone else. You're not better or worse off than anybody else. Express your needs. What do you need at the moment? Of course, feeling confident, having a positive outlook on life. So looking at the glass as more half full than half empty. Say no when you want to. And then being able to see your overall strengths and weaknesses and being able to accept them. So now we're going to watch a video that talks about children and low self-esteem.
Hi, Dr. Winter. So we're talking about low self-esteem. How does a child develop low self-esteem?
Low self-esteem comes about when a child feels helpless, when there's a situation where he's helpless to fix it. Children will always prefer to feel guilty than feel helpless. I don't know why, it's just how we're built. For example, if there's discord at home, parents are fighting, for example, there's all types of commotion. They'll feel like they did something to deserve it. They'll feel like they did something to upset mommy who's yelling at daddy, or vice versa, whatever it may be. When it comes to school with academic achievement, what is school? Every day there's a test, there's a quiz, there's some type of performance going on. Oh, me, pick me. If they get the right answer, they're acknowledged by the teacher. It could also work in reverse. Let's say they don't get those good grades. What if they get poor grades? Over and over again, they start learning the lesson, I'm not smart, or which really translates down to I'm not good.
And what about the social elements at school? Can that contribute to low self-esteem too?
All of us want to be accepted, especially at that age. It's a very, very powerful motivator. A child is overweight, and he gets teased for that, ostracized. What's the lesson? I'm not good enough.
So what can you do for a child with low self-esteem? How do you fix it?
First of all, we have to identify what the possible stressor or stressors are. What is causing this child not to feel good enough? Why is he judging himself so harshly? The world can't tear us down unless we tear ourselves down first. Nobody can tear you down. Nobody. If you tear yourself down first, it's going to be a problem in life. We have to work on the child's automatic thoughts.
And how do you do that?
Those thoughts, the negative ones, have to be identified and interrupted. Let's say you have a daughter and she enjoys ballet. She just loves it. What would I tell you? Do it. Bring her to ballet. Let her learn. Let her enjoy. Nothing succeeds like success. It's proof positive, like, bam, I am good. I'm worthy.
So what could possibly happen to a child with low self-esteem if they don't get treatment?
If we don't treat it in childhood, what's going to happen is it's not going to go away. You can't close your eyes to this and say, you can't see me. No, it's always going to be with you. As children, they may be victims for bullies. As they get older, they may not reach their full potential in college. If somebody's so used to judging themselves so harshly, they're going to be experts at judging everybody else. And it's going to be a problem for somebody like that to be happy.
Thank you, Dr. Winter. This has been really helpful.
Thank you, Allie.
All right, so I'm going to continue on with talking about low self-esteem and how it relates to children and teenagers. So some signs of low self-esteem in children and teens. Number one, avoiding tasks or challenges without even trying. If you give a kid an assignment, they don't even try. If you try to put them in a sport, they don't even try to hit the ball or throw it in the basket. Quitting soon after beginning a game or a task the first time they get frustrated. So trying to teach them a new skill and they're not getting it off the bat, they are going to get frustrated and feel discouraged and stop. Cheating or lying when they think they are going to lose or do poorly. Or, oh, I left my thing at school, or I wasn't cheating. I was just looking at her paper and then putting her answer on my paper. That's cheating. Showing signs of regression. So regression means to revert back to a previous age. So like a child acting like a baby or acting silly. That's what regression means. So making excuses or downplaying the importance of events. So, oh, that test is not really important, but it's worth 80% of your grade. Having declining grades or less interest in usual activities. If your child is ever doing this is the number one telltale that something is going on and it's not good. Experience changing moods, so being sad, crying, or having like angry outbursts. If your kid is normally happy and very social and interactive, then they go to being like sad and distant and isolating. That's another telltale that something is going on. Making self-critical comments. I never do things right. I'll never be good at math. I'll never have a high reading level in the second grade. Like, stuff like that. And then having difficulty accepting praise or criticism, taking it personally with that. So how to build self-esteem in children and teenagers. So number 1, spend time with your child. Find activities y'all can do together that will make them feel successful. So if your kid is good at playing the piano, put them in piano lessons. If they're good at a certain sport, put them in that sport. Something that they will do well in will make them feel better about themselves. So treat your child as an important person. Encourage self-expression without judgment. Accept their feelings and treat them with respect. We are our own little people. So allow your child to make their own decisions when possible. Of course, in situations where you have to make the decision, by all means do that. But, let them have a chance. Do you want honey mustard or barbecue sauce? The main one, do not expose your child to or confide in them about adult topics or family relationship tensions. Exactly what the man said in the video. Children will take it personally and believe that it's their fault that the parents aren't getting along or dad moved out, mom moved out, whatever. So teach your child to praise themselves, make them reward themselves. So, I did good today, or I look nice today. When you do things like that, they will mirror what you do essentially, whether it's negative or positive. And then tell your child how much you love them. Hugs, kisses, ice cream. All right, so now we're going to move into peer pressure. So essentially, what is peer pressure by definition? Peer pressure is the process by which members of the same social group influence other members to do things that they may be resistant to or might not otherwise choose to do on their own. It was also considered like peer influence was another way you can say it. So interestingly, there are 3 different types of peer pressure: spoken versus unspoken, direct versus indirect, and then positive versus negative. So with spoken versus unspoken, so spoken peer pressure is when someone verbally influences another person to do something. So example, someone offering somebody else a cigarette. Well, come on, it's not going to hurt you, girl. I'm smoking that. You can smoke one too. That's spoken peer pressure. Unspoken is when no one verbally tries to influence you. However, there is still a standard set by the group to behave in a certain way. So y'all might be in a group and nobody is saying, well, come on, take the cigarette. They just pass it to you. That's still unspoken peer pressure because everybody else is smoking. So now you feel like you have to smoke. That's how that works. So direct versus indirect peer pressure, and they're kind of similar to spoken and unspoken. So direct peer pressure is when a person uses verbal or nonverbal cues to persuade someone to do something. So the same example, somebody handing somebody else a cigarette, and because the teen on the receiving end must decide on the spot how they're going to respond. Indirect peer pressure is very similar to unspoken peer pressure. So no one is singling you out, but the environment you're in may influence you to do something. So if you're at a party and everybody else is drinking, there's going to be that indirect, unspoken pressure to feel like you have to drink, even if no one asks you to. And then positive versus negative peer pressure. So positive peer pressure is when a person is influenced by others to engage in a beneficial or productive behavior. So you might be encouraging someone to stick up for themselves, or if they to talk to someone they might have a problem with, something more productive, and positive. Negative peer pressure is the influence a person faces to do something they wouldn't normally do or don't want to do as a way of fitting in with a social group. So you see this a lot more so in middle school and high school. You might be hanging around with a certain group. They might dress a certain way. They might do certain activities that you feel like you have to do to fit in with them, or they might pressure you into doing it if you want to be a part of this clique. So some more examples of peer pressure. So acting aggressively, which is common among men. Bullying other people, and bullying can come in all types of fashions, social, physical, emotional. Doing drugs and alcohol, like I said, dressing in a certain way, engaged in like criminal activities, vandalism, physically getting in altercations, only socializing with a certain group. So now we're getting into cliques. And then behavioral addictions. So you have food addictions, gambling, video games, internet, shopping, and there's really a lot somebody can be addicted to. So parental influence. I found this very interesting when I was doing my research. So parents can also have a strong influence on whether children succumb to negative peer pressure. Rather than worrying about the effects of their children's friendships, parents would do well to focus on creating a positive, supportive home environment. That way, even if your child is being peer pressured to do something they don't want to do, they'll feel comfortable coming to you about it first. Parents can also model good self-regulation. Self-regulation means controlling your thoughts, behaviors, and emotions. So this will teach your child positive ways of solving problems when they feel uncomfortable or they have those uncomfortable big feelings that they don't know how to handle, rather than trying to escape by doing things to fit in with the crowd. So peer pressure can also happen to adults. So this might look like feeling like you have to keep up with the Joneses. Trying to compete with other people, whether willingly or unwillingly, and then lifestyle changes that people don't support. So some examples of that include like cutting out drugs or alcohol, eating healthy, exercising, and then education. So an example of that might be a friend or a family member might say, well, I don't know why you're going back to school. You didn't have good grades when we was in high school together. Or I don't know why you're trying to lose weight. You just big bone. Stuff like that. It might not seem like it's peer pressure, but subconsciously it's going to press you into not doing what you wanted to do originally. So, and then finally, how everybody can cope with peer pressure. Taking your time. You do not have to answer immediately. If someone is asking you something, let me get back to you. I don't know. Circle back. Consider your reasonings. What is your reason for doing or not doing something? Is it because you want to do it, or are you really trying to fit in with a certain group of people? And then set boundaries. So this includes saying a no or not doing an activity with that person. So if every time you have this one friend that she's going to encourage you to drink when y'all go out to eat, maybe y'all don't go out to eat. Maybe y'all just chill in the house and have like a girls' day in. Try to find an alternative you can do with somebody that is when they try to peer pressure you into doing something. And this includes self-esteem and peer pressure. And the floor is open for questions or comments. Yes.
My question would be, how does a person know the difference between constructive information and peer pressure? Because one of the challenges that people have is oftentimes their culture tells them one thing, but the reality is they see it as criticism.
Can you repeat your question?
How do you help a person to understand, we use this phrase called constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
If it's constructive, how is it criticism? But when you're trying to help a person, they see it as being negative rather than informative. How do you help them with that?
I think it's a thin line between constructive criticism and then essentially somebody taking it personally. I feel like with people that have low self-esteem, when you give them constructive criticism, they feel like you are attacking them as a person and not what they're actually receiving criticism on. So if you give a presentation and my constructive feedback is, oh, you need to look at the camera more, taking that personally would be like, well, she don't think I'm a good presenter, or she's saying I need to go practice my presenting skills some more. So I feel like self-esteem comes into play with that, and being secure in who you are, and being able to what's the word? Differentiate between constructive criticism and then like a personal attack.
Could that also deal with the tone? Could that also deal with the tone and how the person is saying or giving the constructive criticism?
Yes, I would agree. I feel like sometimes it's not what a person says, but how somebody says it. You need to look at the camera more.
I would take that as offensive.
Yes, I think when you present, you need to look at the camera a little more. So delivery is also a big part of that.
Why y'all looking at me?
So also, with the video saying the behavioral approach, does that also, can cognitive be a part of that as well? Or is it just strictly behavioral?
I think, well, really this might be a little sub-tangent, but in the mental health realm, you do have therapies that combine behavioral and cognitive. It's called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which is aimed at changing those behaviors and those cognitions. So the cognitions itself are the thinking styles. So you would take one of those thinking styles and then behavior that someone does in addition to that thinking style, and you're trying to reverse that. Does that make sense? Okay.
Why y'all looking at me?
A lot of you was about to say something.
No, I'm in the back. No, quick question. How do you, I guess the question is, how do you get youth, and I don't necessarily say you have an answer, but we can have the discussion, if they are in an unhealthy environment, if they do have low self-esteem, what are some things as a group, as a family, within ministry, that we can help these people? Because sometimes the parent won't let you help the kid because the parent is in a controlling mode of fear or whatever. So as we see kids and we get help them and share with them and help mold them, if you have any examples, I think that'd be great.
I think personally, that's like a slippery slope, because I do feel like some self-esteem issues are deeper rooted than what we have the tools to help with. Like they might need truly more help than you legally can provide, like counseling or something. What you can do was like having positive affirmations, trying to breathe life into them, giving them encouragement. I find it's kind of hard to do, but every time someone says something bad about themselves, making them catch it and then saying something else. But there's only so much you can do to a certain point if it's deep rooted. Like if the mama is the issue and they ate and they live with the mama and they got another 10 years with the mama, the work you are trying to do will become undone because they're still in that same environment.
Can you give us some kind of insight of how critical the environment that the child lives in can either shape them to meet the world or cause them to hide from the world? How critical, what percentage would you think?
In my personal opinion?
Personal, professional, just...
I think 100%. I'll say this, a lot of adults that have current mental health challenges, it stems from something in their childhood that did happen, did not happen, or was not addressed. Children aren't taught all the time how to regulate their emotions, so then when they get those big feelings, they don't know how to respond, so they might flip a chair over. When you get to 20 years old and something don't go your way, you can't flip the chair over in Publix because you're going to jail. But I feel like that's where it starts. Especially if you're trying to work on yourself and build somebody up and they're in a toxic environment, I almost want to say impossible to build somebody up and they're still in the same environment that's tearing them down.
Okay.
Y'all going to be working against each other.
Okay. So that environment is critical.
Absolutely. Children need stability. They need encouragement.
From conception.
Yes. and attachment and emotional connection, especially emotional connection. If no one ever acknowledged your feelings when you were younger, you're going to feel like you don't deserve to feel upset or deserve to feel a certain type of way. Or who am I to feel this? Like you're nothing.
Right.
Could that also be with having a child be in a toxic household?
Mm-hmm.
Could that also, like, if someone is constantly putting that child down, could that also have to do with like the child's mental age? So like my age, they should know that, oh, this person's not doing this, so I shouldn't follow this way, or I shouldn't dwell on what they're saying if I know that's not true. Or is that just what I see I'm gonna go with?
I don't think I understand. But I still feel like 18 and under, your mind is still developing. You are still trying to learn interpersonal skills and still figure out who you are, especially when people get to high school and everybody doing everything else. And of course, I feel like peer pressure is really high in high school. So you're really trying to figure out who you are, what you want to do with your life, who your friends are. I feel like your mind is still impressionable, if that makes sense. Okay. Does anybody? Oh, you have a question?
So one of the things that children need to learn when they're growing up is how to fail, because that's how we learn. Do you have any tips on how to teach children the lesson of failure, but continue to keep their self-esteem?
So let's take like a game for like a tournament. It's first, second, and third. I personally don't believe in giving participatory.
No.
Say it again.
I do not believe in giving participatory rewards.
Say it again.
Right. I don't think that will teach them really resilience. If you win, if you come first, you first. If you come next, you second. And if you was last, you third. I think that takes away from understanding that you won't always win. If there was a reading competition in elementary school, I don't know if they still do those, and the people with the top. Okay, let's do. Oh, whoever read the most books. If you read over 100 books, you got invited to the pizza party. If you read 98, you should not go to the pizza party because you did not read 100 books. I think that takes away from understanding resilience and building resilience. The world is not a fair place.
Challenge. If the parent doesn't know how to deal with failure, it's hard to teach a child how to deal with failure, because what you said is excellent, is that if you didn't, and I think that's why so many people shortchange themselves, because they lower the bar rather than raise the bar.
But I feel like you also have to understand that adults that have that problem were children that had that problem, and their parents never did nothing about it. So they can't fix. That would be trying to fix 34. If that person was 34, be trying to fix 34 years of trauma, like trying to undo that. And I feel like that takes a lot of effort and someone being intentional in trying to unravel that. So, but if they're not, of course they're just going to pass it down, and that's why we get into generational trauma and all that.
But even at that point, that person can go get help to manage it. They may not be able to change it 100%, but do you agree with that it can be something if recognized and become managed?
Managing what, for clarification?
In other words, finding out what their shortcomings are. So now they...
I'm sorry, one more time. You was going in and out. I heard the managing part.
That's what's Mike now. You know what I'm saying is, yeah, right. I'm not saying that's what I'm saying in general. What I'm saying is, let's say I have an issue, and I'm 34, and I really just discovered I have an issue. So now, would you still recommend that I go get assistance so I can manage it, even if I can't overcome it? At least there's something that can help me, teach me triggers so I don't go do that again.
I don't believe in managing issues. I feel like when you go to counseling, you're overcoming. Because you're going to sit in that chair and she's going to tell me about the day you was born. Everything you remember from a child. And then I take that back. there are certain challenges a person can overcome, but I feel like there are certain mental health illnesses and diagnoses you have to just manage. Like if you ended up getting diagnosed with a personality disorder, there's no cure for that. Like you can't take antidepressants and be good in 7 months. That's not how that works. So your issues you can overcome, but if it's something like deeper or like a prognosis, then that turns into managing. I could overcome my childhood trauma, but now I'm just managing my bipolar disorder, for example. To answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Would you like to give us a closing summary?
I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I did have an additional sheet. I thought about printing, but I didn't want to kill any more trees. So if anyone needs it, I have a sheet that lists all the examples for the different negative 15 cognitive distortions. I really feel like it'll help. So if anyone needs that, just let me know. But as always, I am here for local and national resources. For the people watching on live, I can be contacted via email, dajad415@gmail.com. Again, that's dajad415@gmail.com. Thank y'all.